Video on the Pantheon. Normally I would do this on a Pear Deck, and I apologize, I'm not with you to do that. So what are you learning today? It's the historical significance of a building that is in Rome, called the Pantheon. And why is it important? Well, it's still the world's, even today, the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, and this thing is 2,000 years old. So it's a very impressive architectural feat by the Romans. It's in much better shape than the Colosseum is, for sure. All right, so if we were doing a Pear Deck, I have you drag the flag to the location of the Parthenon. Now notice what I did here. I did not ask for the Pantheon, I asked for the Parthenon, and you should have dropped it right here in Greece, near the city of Athens, because the Parthenon sits up on top of the hill in the Acropolis in Athens, and this is dedicated to, of course, since the city-state was named after Athena, Athens. If you didn't know that, this is dedicated to her. You can see it's not very good shape, but if you do go to Athens, you can go and look at it. I do not believe you can go inside it, although I do see some dude up there on top of the steps. I don't think it would be safe to go inside. If you've ever been to Athens, you can tell me if you've been allowed in there. I do not think that they would allow regular people around there. I do see some people around it, though. All right, and then I was going to ask you to drag the flag to the location of the Pantheon, and you should have dragged it. You would have dragged it right here, of course, to where the city of Rome is located. All right, pretty much everything there is to know about the Roman Pantheon. I was going to ask you yes or no on that. All right, so what I was originally going to have you do is just take a look at the inside of this beautiful structure and just take about 10, 15 seconds of visual discovery and just look. So I'll go ahead and let you look at this slide. Go ahead and look at everything that you can see and see what you notice. Well, obviously, some things you're going to say is the hole in the ceiling. As you can see, it's letting sunlight through. You can see the height of the entire building itself because you can see those tourists in there. You can see how small they look compared to the utter size of the building. It's humongous, and you can see that there's different little nooks and crannies and crevices. And I also like to see how the design of the roof looks there. You know, kind of when you start to look at the pattern a little bit, like it starts to look like it's like that the dome itself is like coming in instead of going out, like it's sinking in. It's weird. Like the more you look at it, the more swirly and weird it looks, at least to me. All right, so first impression, I was looking for you to say, either how big it was, or that it must have been an amazing feat of architecture. Really, this building really shows how the Romans perfected the use of concrete. It's 142 feet in diameter, 142 feet from floor to the top of the dome, which makes it a perfect sphere. So you could take a ball, if you had a ball that was 142 feet, total square foot, 142 feet ball, and you could put it directly in there and it would stay. It would be perfect fit inside. The concrete ranges. It ranges from about, let's see, I have it written down here somewhere. And concrete, oh, there it is, 21 feet thick at the bottom, and then it goes up to being 4 feet thick at the top. So we've got a really thick part of the dome at the bottom and a very thin part at the top there, about 4 feet up there where the opening is. And why do you think they placed it? Well, I was going to ask for your input on this. Some of the things you could be thinking about would be for natural sunlight, natural light to light up the structure, which is obvious in this picture. Also could be maybe a place for the prayers to funnel up toward the gods, or maybe even for the gods to watch down upon the people. Why do you think the ancient Romans constructed such large building and temples? Well, I think an obvious answer to that would be to show their dedication toward their gods. And because this was a temple to all the gods, because that's what Pantheon means in Latin, it means to all the gods. I think because this wasn't into one in particular, they needed to make it as grand and as elaborate as possible. So this is the Pantheon. You can see the outside of it. Those stone pillars were quarried. They were quarried in Egypt and then brought across the Mediterranean. So again, they used some building material from Egypt like they did for the Circus Maximus. And you can see this Latin here in the front of it, and you can make out M. Agrippa here in the first part of it. And this guy did start it. His name was Agrippa. He was Augustus's son-in-law, and he was also his BFF. And this is what it says. It says, Marcus Agrippa, 3 times consul, built this. But he did not finish it. He died before it was finished, and one of the emperors that came later, named Hadrian, you might remember him for his wall that he built across Scotland, in 126 AD, he finished the building. And what great respect he paid to Agrippa, because he could have had Agrippa's name removed from it, but he decided to allow it to stay. Even though Agrippa never was an emperor, he was a consul. And because he was the one that started it, I like that Hadrian, out of respect for Agrippa, decided to let it stay there. And so Agrippa looks like he gets the credit for this thing, but Hadrian was the one that finished it. So it is almost 2,000 years old, and 2126, which is very soon, it'll be 2,000 years old. It is still the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, and it's the best preserved ancient Roman building. It started off as a temple to all the Roman gods, and later on became a Christian church, and today is used as a museum or a tourist destination, although it is still used as a church on special occasions. Though the answer to that was Egypt. And Pantheon, I answered that too. It means all gods. All right, so I was going to have you circle the pediment because they used a Greek structure style, a Greek architecture style for the front part of the actual building. And the pediment is sometimes called a triangular pediment, and it's this part. So if you would have circled this triangular part, and if you just look at this whole front opening here, like the front entranceway, it just looks Greek to me. It seems more Greek than Roman. And so this really, I like this shot of it, because you don't see the immensity of the dome. But when I give you this shot, take a look at that thing. You can see the dome really dwarfs the actual entranceway. You know, just one interesting part about photography here is the angle. I mean, look at that angle, and then, look at that angle. It just shows you how big the dome and the vault actually is in the backside. So this is the Pantheon. The oculus, which is in the is the eye. Oh, sorry, it's the Latin word for eye. It is in the center of the actual dome itself. It's about 30 feet in diameter, which would make it pretty significant. Here is the floor plan, and here's an outside view. And this answer was oculus. I think it was a multiple choice. And then this, I was going to go ahead and just ask you to come up with the translation in English, or have you guess. And you have a nerve in your eye, and it's called the ocular nerve. It connects your eye to your brain, and anything that deals with your eyes is called that OCU, the ocular part of your body is your eye, and so oculus translates to eye. So that's what that middle hole is called. The oculus was open to the elements in ancient Rome and still is even today. And that answer would have been, think what you would put there. That answer is true. It is true. It is open. There's a drain in the floor even today. So when it does rain in the city of Rome today, the rainfall does fall through the opening in the oculus, and then there's a drain in the floor. The floor is set up so it's kind of got a drain in the center, and then it all sort of runs toward the center and drains out into probably an ancient aqueduct. But this is the oculus. Remember, I told you it is about 30 feet wide in diameter, open to the elements even today. So here's the inside of the Pantheon. You can see that they do have church pews there, and they also have a little bit of an altar there. This is used for very, very special Christian religious services today, but you can see that you just can't go in there and walk around and sit down, and you can see the tourists there. There's ropes that are keeping the tourists out of that area, so tourists are not allowed to go into that church area. I would guess if the Pope would come and would say a special mass or something like that, then they would be able to use that part of the Pantheon. The famous Italian Raphael is interred there, and notice how I'm using the word interred. I'm not saying turd, T-U-R-D. I'm saying turd, I-N-T-E-R-R-E-D, and that means that his remains are stored there. And why is he famous? Because he was a Renaissance painter. He was one of the guys that brought on the Renaissance in Italy, and we'll look at some of his work near the end of the school year in May and June. And here is a bust of Raphael, and here is his tomb. So here's the bust of Raphael here, and his remains are stored there. There's also a king of Italy, a very famous king. I don't know what he did because he's outside of our content zone. I think he was somebody that was post-Renaissance. His name is Umberto I, and his remains are interred there as well. So you got two people that the Pantheon is their gravesite. One is Umberto, and the other one is Raphael. So I was going to ask you if you could think of any other famous domes in the United States, and one of them is obviously the U.S. Capitol building, as you can see here, beautiful dome we have here where the the legislative branch meets, Congress meets to make our laws. The Golden Dome, if you're a fan of Notre Dame football, they get a famous dome on the campus of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. Famous dome in the world that's not in the United States is the Dome of the Rock. This is the third holiest site in Islam, and it is right in the heart of Jerusalem. There's a little mini Pantheon here in the United States, and I was going to have you circle the state where it is located. So think about what state you would circle. And if you would have circled Virginia, you are correct. It is located on the University of Virginia campus, which is right smack dab in the middle of Virginia. It is in Charlottesville, Virginia. That's where the University of Virginia is located. And so I'm going to ask you which of the founding fathers who loved all things Roman founded the University of Virginia. And so I have a bunch of founding fathers listed in the multiple choice area. And what I would have had you pick there was between Ben Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and John Adams. And the answer would have been Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson loved all things about the Roman people. And so what he did was he built a little mini Pantheon on the University of Virginia campus. As you can see right here, it is not the regular size. Construction began in 1822. He lived to see the completion of the rotunda, and he did reduce the size because he did not want this building. If he had built it like the regular size of the Pantheon, it would have dwarfed the other campus buildings. So you can see how beautiful this thing is. Thomas Jefferson in front. He built it really to look just like a mini Pantheon. As you can see there, it looks just like it. All right, here's the inside. You can see it does have an oculus, but the oculus is covered with glass. There was some serious damage. There was a fire in 1895, and it was rebuilt. And then there was a new restoration started in, between April 2003 to July 2016. 38,000 labor hours, $5.1 million. The oculus has about 32 panes of glass in it, and each pane of the glass has 127 pounds of weight to it. So the total weight of the oculus is about 2 tons, which is crazy. As you can see, they probably do special events there, like little parties and stuff that the president would hold. I'm guessing that the students can't just like roll in there on the inside and just hang out, but I'm guessing that they hold special events there on the University of Virginia campus. Many Fox Chapel people have ties to the University of Virginia. For some reason, the high school sends a lot of kids to UVA, and there's some parents from UVA. So if your parents are Virginia grads, you can tell them that you learned about that how Thomas Jefferson built a little mini Pantheon on campus because he loved the Romans so much. One year, again, I said, I'll give you extra credit if anybody ever gets their picture in front of this campus building, and it just so happened it was right before winter break, just like it is right now, and some kid was going to pick up their sister at the University of Virginia campus, and they weren't going to go because they didn't want to go right all the way to middle Virginia, but they went because they knew that they were going to get extra credit. So if for some reason you're on the University of Virginia campus and you want to send me a picture of you in front of this building, I will give you extra credit for sure. All right, here's the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C. You got it. It's kind of out of the way. Like if you're looking at the Lincoln Memorial, it's like to the left, and you got to go down this weird path and out toward like almost like a peninsula on the tidal basin. And the cool reason why I want to show you this is because they also built it to be dome-like, like the Pantheon is. So you can see there is no oculus, but the ceiling of it is domed, just like the Pantheon is, and just like the Chancellor's Building on the University of Virginia campus. Went here last time I was here. I was with my daughter on her 6th grade field trip, and I was trying to talk about the historical significance of the way that this memorial looked, and no one, of course, cared. They all thought I was a nerd and wanted me to leave them alone, so I ended up talking to some strangers about it, so I'm surprised that they didn't call security on me. So that is it. I had a little quiz here, but I'm not going to have you take that. And yeah, I had that for you to draw on. So that is it. Thank you for watching.